It's no secret. The world is changing. This brings with it challenges, but also the opportunities to be able to reimagine tomorrow. It inspires us to look towards technology and fuels transformation, creating an accelerated drive to do things better. But to understand where we are, we need to understand where we've been. And this goes back to the deepest parts of our history. You see, artificial intelligence progresses through the analysis of data. And it turns out, so do we. Now, this may seem like a strange statement, but if we think about it, we have evolved through our ability to be both data collectors and data analyzers. Think about our hunter-gatherer ancestors. How did they survive? How did they evolve? They achieved this because they were able to turn their observations into actionable data. By understanding herd migration, weather patterns, and the benefits of fire, they were able to hunt better, they were able to build better, and ultimately live better. The distribution of this knowledge created disruption, and disruption propelled humanity forward. Today, we continue to collect data, and disruption is still our primary drive. But with the volume of data both collected and consumed, it's imperative that we build the tools to be able to better understand, identify, and respond to its potential. Cue the algorithm. Our digital lives are governed by algorithms. When we use social media, when we stream a film, when we plan a trip, even when we do our online weekly shop, algorithms are working behind the scenes to move the process along. Let me give you an example. Now, do you ever wonder why an internet search decides what comes out on top, or maybe how social news feeds choose what information to display? This is what's called link analysis, a kind of data mining, if you will. Algorithms will look at your friends, your mutual friends, your interests and purchase preferences before using this data to customize a feed that's presented back to you. The information you give fuels the information that you receive, and we begin what's known as a feedback loop. This is the power of data and the algorithms that make sense of it. It's also the key components of artificial intelligence. But how does AI learn? Do machines even think? Well, to answer this, we need to consider the question, what is intelligence? For AI, we consider this to be the following 5 attributes: learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and language. Let's look at these in more detail. Now, currently, computers learn through supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement-based methods. We'll start with supervised, and as you can probably guess, it means someone looking over the shoulder of the CPU and judging whether the computer is getting things right. It means having a full set of labeled data while training the algorithm. This way of teaching means that each example you present will be tagged with the answer so the machine can learn through association and repetition. It's like teaching your child to read with phonic cards. Now you're probably thinking, hold on, wait, we don't hold up flashcards to a computer. But the thing is, we kind of do. Think about those apps that can identify objects. You know, this is a car, this is a bike, this is a person. Well, the computer only knows that because somebody has painstakingly gone through the images, telling the computer, this is a car, this is a bike, this is a person. In fact, companies like Samasource are helping thousands of people lift themselves out of poverty in developing countries by paying them to do these annotations and break down complex data projects. By doing so, machines can look at new images and then predict the likeliness of what they're seeing. But what happens when we don't have perfectly labeled data sets, or we ask questions that haven't been trained? This type of learning is called unsupervised. With this model, the machine is given the data with no explicit instructions or an example of a desired outcome. It's simply asked to get on with it. The neural network then tries to make sense of it all, desperately trying to find structure to the data and formulate a pattern. Now, unsupervised learning can organize data in many ways. This could be through clustering, i.e. matching colors or shapes or species. Or it could be anomaly detection, whereby it detects unusual patterns. Think about how your bank checks for fraudulent activity, or how sometimes your card won't work when you're abroad. This is down to a machine thinking that something is perhaps a little off. Maybe it's association. We've all bought things online and then been prompted with recommendations to consider as we check out. This is because a machine learning model has determined that these recommendations may be of interest by simply matching key attributes. The thing is, by having no absolute truth, it's difficult to measure how effective unsupervised learning will be. But what we do know is that machines are amazing at finding patterns, and thanks to high-powered computing, they can do this at record pace. This brings us to our last example, reinforcement-based learning. Now, as the name suggests, this training is based on two aspects: exploration of what is not known and exploitation of what is. Think of it like playing a video game. How many times have you tried to complete a level only to run into an enemy or some other entity that cuts the game short? Through perseverance and reacting to what has been learned, you'll eventually complete the level. This is the very essence of reinforcement-based learning. This cut-and-dry approach simply works through trial and error. The algorithm evaluates a situation, then acts, receives feedback, and will adjust accordingly to maximize long-term reward. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to technological acceleration, we also have to address fear. And the burning question most people ask is, will AI take our jobs? Historically, change has been met with resistance. Loss of control, excess uncertainty, concerns of competence, and fears of redundancy. But it's also demonstrated that it creates new opportunity. Again, to understand where we are, we need to understand where we've been. Go back a couple of hundred years to the 18th century as Britain began the Industrial Revolution. At a time of change, there was massive uncertainty. Papers printed headlines such as "The March of the Machine Makes Idle Hands." But what we actually see was an explosion in economic growth. We see shifts from agricultural communities to the new urban societies of today. It changed how, when, and where people worked. It inspired innovation. It accelerated production, improved processes all over, all whilst reducing the influences of borders. In short, the revolution made humanity step up its game, and we're enjoying the benefits still today. Think about it, even something as mundane as doing your weekly shop. Can you imagine a time where supermarkets didn't exist? You couldn't just go to one place and purchase everything you needed because nothing was mass produced. In fact, almost everything that we use, consume, wear, and take for granted today is a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution. By embracing the change, we reap the rewards. For many, the evolution of the machines is history repeating itself. The change brings uncertainty, but this time it also brings with it scale, scope, and complexity. We now understand many young children will potentially work in jobs that don't currently exist, amplified by demand from social media, digital publications, and e-commerce. But strip back the fears and we see the potential to enrich life. Today, hospitals use machine learning to help doctors diagnose illnesses more quickly. In fact, artificial intelligence is now more accurate at diagnosing breast cancer from mammograms than its human counterparts. This makes the screening more accurate. It produces better outcomes and ultimately serves to reduce the stress of the patient. But AI also raises the questions of ethics, with some people asking that just because we can, does that mean we should? And opinions are divided. Like any disruption, people will discuss the pros and cons, the risks and opportunity. But to be successful, we need to ensure that the machines we build reflect our timeless values. And that requires humanity to reflect upon itself. Designing ethical AI to empower others and amplify human ingenuity means that it must be fair. It must also be inclusive, transparent, accountable, and safe. These guiding principles must be firmly rooted in architectural design and mature into systems that foster positive impact. Now, more than ever, we have to collectively think about the society that we want to live in. We need to talk openly and frankly about what the future will look like, and we need to adhere to the principles that will allow us to be considerate of social complexities. We need to avoid discrimination and embrace diversity, because then, and only then, will we be able to build AI that's both fair and just. So where does this leave us? Now, I can't tell you what new jobs will emerge, but what I can say is that historically people have adapted to the new world around them, and I'm confident that it will be exactly the same this time around. We also know that these jobs will be based on technology. Banks will need network engineers, retailers will need web programmers, farmers will need data analysts, and demands for data, AI, and robotic engineers will increase significantly. This means that it's our responsibility to ensure that we train and nurture the workforce of tomorrow. We need to improve the careers advice that's provided. We need to remove stereotypes, and we need to encourage more women into the field. By addressing these gaps, we are future-proofing our commitment to technology adoption, addressing the current skill shortages, and preparing ourselves for the expected demands of the future. So let me wrap this up by talking about some of the ways that AI is improving lives. Today, it's helping organizations and individuals make massive gains on sustainability, tackling some of the toughest environmental challenges. We're using it to gather and share data at lightning speed and help address global health issues. We build products that democratize technology and empower us all to do more. Tools such as the Immersive Reader that encourages independent reading, comprehension, and accessibility. This helps the 10% of the world's population who suffer with dyslexia improve their reading fluency. Or small businesses who can make use of the tools such as Sketch to Code and simply draw out their web presence. Or further still, improve the interaction with customers through bot technology, creating conversational artificial intelligence through nothing more than uploading an FAQ. We see tools such as the presentation coach in PowerPoint analyze, judge, and enhance our content, evaluating pace, pitch, and filler words before presenting us with points of improvement to consider. We are building tools to help the visually impaired. We're building these tools so they can better see and navigate the world around them with apps such as the Seeing AI tool, which is available to download from the App Store. Technology is being used to preserve culture, language, and history, in addition to bringing priceless architecture to life through mixed reality platforms. Artificial intelligence will empower us all, and Microsoft is collaborating with researchers and academics from around the globe to advance responsible AI practices and technologies. Our guidance aims to ensure that AI is ethically permissible, considerate, and justifiable, as the results will have massive social impact. And we're making huge gains. In the last 5 years alone, our systems have begun matching human parity for vision, speech, reading, and real-time language translation. Jump onto any Microsoft Teams call and you can see how AI can blur the background or filter out unwanted noise. It can perform real-time transcription and enhance collaboration. This is the future that we dreamed of. This is what happens when we embrace technology, and it's a technology that's open to all. At Microsoft, we are driving this initiative with resources such as the AI School, AI Labs, and Microsoft Learn. Together, we learn, we innovate, and we ethically design responsible tools that empower us all to achieve more. This in turn enables us to shape the world that we wish to see. Thank you.